Welcome to this special edition of the Pulse of Spokane. And it's going to be a fun and interesting tour. We're literally going to take a tour around the world. And I've got somebody who has spent a lot of his time around the world. And so we'll be back and talk with him right after this.
This is Bloomsday in Spokane. We got about 40 firefighters and their friends and family handing out 40,000 cups of water as the day goes by.
It's a very good opportunity to see the public and support them and help them out and cheer them on during Bloomsday.
It's one of the best things about Spokane is that we have these major events and the whole community comes together not just to participate but to volunteer and show that they really care about our city and making our city look great.
This type of an event really is emblematic of Spokane because so many people get involved. We have 50,000 people probably running this race. Always has been a very huge event.
Right now we're at the corner of Broadway and Nettleton. It's the last water station before the finish, so people are pretty much dehydrated by the time they get to us. They really need our water.
The water stations are a vital part, especially on warm days like today. It's real important that we have the volunteers to help with that. Without the volunteers, Bloomsday wouldn't exist.
All up and down the course, there are people that are involved in this celebration. It really is a celebration of what Spokane's all about.
Welcome to Apex Plaza, Spokane's one-stop cannabis destination. Apex Cannabis features thousands of economy, value, and luxury cannabis products. Cannagear features hemp-based CBD products, glass, goods, and gear. Stop by 1325 North Division to experience the Apex difference.
This product has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming. Marijuana can impair concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence of this drug. There may be health risk associated with the consumption of this product. For use only by adults 21 and older. Keep out of the reach of children.
The economy is getting stronger, banks are lending again, and interest rates are at historic lows. Now is a great time to buy your dream home. The caring and knowledgeable professionals at Homes for You have been helping people just like you for over 20 years. They take the time to listen to what you want and will help you find just the right home in Washington or Idaho. Real estate is what we do at Homes for You, 928-5782, or visit online at homes4uspokane.com.
Well, my guest today is literally a world explorer, which means you've been outside the U.S., right?
I certainly have, as you can tell by the accent.
I was going to say, you started outside the U.S., huh?
Definitely, yeah. I'm from Britain.
Okay, yes. I've heard of them. In fact, didn't we have a tea party or something?
It was a long time ago.
Long time, before both of us, yeah. Okay, we won't go there. All right. You've been on the Discovery, on the History Channel, a number of things, because what have you been out doing?
Well, since I was a child, I've always had an interest in unknown species and finding evidence of them. So I've been all over the world, mostly on my own time and money, finding evidence as to whether they exist or not.
Okay.
And then I found evidence of these creatures in certain places, which was scientifically corroborated, and then TV picked it up. So the TV sort of happened by accident.
Yeah.
It wasn't a plan of mine. I love it. It's great. But that in synopsis, that was what I was about.
Yeah, yeah. So they came a call and you said, okay.
Yeah, well, I went to the jungles of Sumatra, and there's a story about a bipedal primate called the orang pendek, and it walks like a man. And I love the story because it goes back centuries to Marco Polo's time.
Yes.
There was always stories in the jungle of this creature, and I'm interested in answers to the questions about it. So I found prints in the jungle of this creature, footprints that it had made, and it's important I can make the assertion that it was from this creature because I then had them analysed by some of the world's leading scientists, such as people at Chivers at Cambridge, and they came to the conclusion that it was from an unknown primate. And that ended up making news, and then I did other things, and then National Geographic picked that up, and I went to Mongolia. But I've been all over the world doing it for so many years, it was just a snowball thing.
Yeah, Now, we're going to launch a program with Stephen Major and some others. It's going to be called This Week in Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And that's coming up here in another month. What got you interested in Bigfoot?
Well, I was making a film in China.
Okay.
About a creature called the Yeren. I was making a film for the History Channel.
Oh,
and I've always been very, very interested in all of these things all over the world. And when I was there, I was teamed up with a professor from Idaho called Jeff Meldrum. Okay. And I said to him, tell me about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It was something that was in my mind to do. And he showed me the Patterson-Gimlin film. Now, that's the famous film from the 1960s where you can see what looks like a bipedal primate walking very quickly through an area in Northern California. Now, he persuaded me, he's a credible scientist, he's expert at what he does, and he said, talks about the unusual features that made this not a guy in a suit, not a hoax, not a fake. And so I thought, I'll start to do some Bigfoot investigations. And now I'm very friendly, for example, with Bob Gimlin, who's a great man, who was one of the two people who originally recorded that. So it was that initial interest,
Sure.
persuaded me to devote some time and resources to coming here.
Yeah. When I called our friend Stephen this morning to confirm that we were going to be able to have you in today, I picked up the phone. He said, "Hi, Kent," and I said, "No, this is Daryl."
Yeah, the advert. Yeah. We don't know Bigfoot's real name yet.
Yeah.
But if it was Daryl, then that would be funny, wouldn't it?
It would be, wouldn't it? He's off camera here. I just had to give him a bad time. So, what of all the things you've done? Because I looked at your biography this morning quickly, and you've been all over the world doing things. What's your favorite adventure? Because you must have one or two favorites, maybe.
Well, I think it depends on the situation. I mean, one of the things that I'm very proud of doing was crossing the Lacula Swamp in the Congo. I was one of the first people ever to cross it. So there's stories of a living dinosaur living in it's like Heart of Darkness, Joseph Conrad thing. Yeah. And there were stories about this, and I love the idea that could exist. And it was extremely difficult.
I think we all do, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But there was a guy called Colonel John Blashford Snell, and he said, you cross this swamp, it's living hell. And I went all the way through this. It was extremely exhausting. I got to the end, and I'm worn out. And I managed to get to Lake Tele, which is the epicenter of this activity. I was shot at, I had to eat monkey, and I could tell you many stories. But I remember just getting there. And I was covered in cuts, and I looked up, and I got in a little pirogue, which is like a canoe thing that the guys had made. And I looked up, and I've got this carpet of blue butterflies all over me. It was beautiful. They landed on me, and I'm just like,
oh my gosh,
like almost semi-delirious.
Yeah.
And there, watching me from the top of a tree, was a gorilla picking its nose, going, "Whoa, what's that?"
That's not nice.
Yeah, exactly. So that was, there are many, I've been to parts of Sumatra, Mongolia, all over. But that, I think, was my singular moment where I thought, gosh.
Beautiful opportunity. They must have been absolutely beautiful.
The gorillas?
No,
the butterflies. Yeah, it was like something out of a fairy tale. That.
Yeah.
Well, you literally put your arms out.
You almost have to watch a cartoon to see really the pretty ones these days, because they're hard to capture with a camera and so forth. Yeah. You've been doing a travel channel series, the Alaska Triangle. What is that about?
Well, I did it. Stephen Major was very interested. I met him in Vancouver Island. We were doing some expedition there. And he said, there's this... I want to do things that are a little bit unique or off the wall. And he said, there's this story.
I think Stephen's that way, too.
Absolutely, he is. Absolutely, totally. And that was why it was a good pair-up.
Yeah.
But he said to me, there's this story about this hairy man of Port Chatham.
Yes.
And the idea, and it sounds like something out of a Stephen King novel. It really does.
Yeah.
So basically, in the 1950s, there's this creature which was killing people.
Yes.
And
in a little town.
In a little town in Alaska.
Yes.
And it was killing people, and they were scared, and it got so bad they put security around the town, and it still killed people. So the whole town was abandoned.
Yeah.
And this is it sounds like, it's fantasy, but you can look it up yourselves. It's
Yes.
a true story. And there's a lot of research and background into this story. And I looked it up myself, and he said, I want to go and do this. Will you come with me? And I said, yes, of course I'll come with you. Fantastic. That's exactly the sort of thing I want
Was
to
this
do.
after or before several drinks?
It was during and after, and maybe after that.
okay.
But we won't go there, eh? But I thought it was a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of organisation. Stephen did a lot of preparation.
Yes.
And nobody would take us, you know. we found this one guy who was like...
Drop you off
"Eh."
way out in the water, right?
Well, he's basically, this one guy would take us, but he did just drop us off. And then we did the investigation, and some fantastic things happened, some
Yes.
really unique evidence.
Yes.
But to answer your specific question, when we got back, people on the docks were shaking our hands saying, oh, you survived, you lived, well done. We thought you were dead, you know.
Yeah, the first 3 or 4 we've ever seen, right? Yeah.
So it was like that, and there was like, people would not go. So, and we got some really unique evidence. I mean, the thing about it is what's important is we enjoy that, but what for me is important is that we get scientific evidence of these creatures
Yeah.
that can be independently corroborated. And in that instance...
So it's not just a guy's trip to get out
No,
and
no,
have
no.
campfire and all that,
No,
right?
I'm out to find scientific evidence which can be analysed, which will lead to their existence, to be
Right.
proved scientifically. That's what I'm about. I love the adventure, but that's my main purpose.
Right.
Now, on that show, and it isn't determinative, I use the night vision equipment because on the last night, we heard something roaring, and I filmed it, and it rushed down the woods. I could see it rushing down the woods. I even said to Stephen, we better get ready because this thing's coming. And I filmed it, and it stopped dead and then moved back up the hillside. It stopped. But that was analysed again by Dr. Robert Alley, and he said, well, that's not determinative, but it certainly looks like bipedal locomotion.
Yeah, yeah.
So the reason I've told you that is if I make an assertion, it has to be supported by a credible scientist.
And usually for more than just the film of it or something.
No,
like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Show me a couple pieces that add up to...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want that verification. I don't want a blurry picture of a Bigfoot with a red circle on saying, oh, there's a Bigfoot in that bush. No. Yeah. What I'm working towards is a really gold standard of evidence. And that's what we're doing. That's what Stephen's doing with his company. Working towards that gold standard, that high watermark, and anything else, if it falls short, then it's not going to add to the process.
Got to ask the question, why did we let you into Washington recently?
because you know you're very caring.
Ah, okay. No, what have you been doing here?
Well, what I've been doing is I've been furthering research here about the existence of Bigfoot in the area.
Right.
So again, we're adopting that meticulous methodology. We've been researching the area and we've been looking for evidence. I can't say the exact location out of respect to people.
No.
But I literally came out of the woods an hour ago. Yeah, so I've just had time to have a quick shower, so I don't...
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're sat opposite me. It wouldn't have been a good call.
No,
you know?
probably not. Because you were there for several days.
I was there. I was there. I arrived on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
And I just came out now.
Yeah.
So, it would have been... We would have smelt worse than the bear, I think.
Well, we could go outside and do the interview.
Yeah, it would have been that. But it's been about that, and it's been a great investigation, and I'm very encouraged about what's here.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are you learning some things that are leading you in one direction or the other?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a process, and that documentation, that methodology, that careful process, that objective analysis is critical. That's what we're about. But in terms of the field investigation, that's the first part of the process, and that's what I've been doing now.
Right.
And there'll be more. It's an ongoing investigation.
Sure.
It's not just I turn up for a few days and that's it. Woo! You know, it's already started before I got here, and it will continue after I've gone.
So you go and have the information that you gather reviewed and processed and so forth. Do those folks, those experts, tell you what kinds of things you need to come back with?
Well, they'll give us advice. I mean, I'm pretty familiar.
Generally, you know.
Yeah, they'll give us advice, and we'll discuss it. And it's important not to be precious.
Yeah.
You know, if you need to accept constructive criticism because that's a learning process.
Yeah.
There's too many people. Oh no, this is mayhem. No, you're right. You're wrong.
Yeah.
No, you need to work towards that objectivity. And the goal would be to write a scientific paper, but that needs to be peer reviewed, and that again, that's another process.
Yes.
So it's not simply a bunch of yahoos turn up in the woods, take a few photographs of a couple of bushes and roll off.
Yeah, can't you see it there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Right. This is months and months of research, and will be in the future.
How do you pay for all this?
Well, I used to do a lot of stuff on my own time and money.
Okay.
So, for example, to give you an idea of the Congo, I didn't have the money for all loads of expensive equipment, so I lived like the locals. You know, when I went trekking, with the...
And you probably learn more that way.
Exactly, that's my point. I trekked with the Sukuanaktalam tribal peoples in Sumatra, in the Congo. I lived like those people. And I did learn an awful lot. It really accentuated my skills. Yeah. So I built that up. Obviously, if I'm doing a TV show, they will pay for it. And that's great because that gives me more opportunities. But as I say, I fell into that. I'm really glad I did.
Yes.
It was a great process. But initially, it was my time, my money. I worked for different companies. And I tried to do really well in my job, so they give me the time off to go and do these things.
I hear you.
So that was how it was.
So what is next for Adam Davies?
I always have a few opportunities to do things, and then one thing falls into line. But I can tell you, I'm very fascinated by the Bigfoot. I want questions answered as to its level of sentience, where it sits in relation to us, and say a great ape like a gorilla. I'm curious about it. I think it's eminently resourceful. And I'd love that question to be answered in my lifetime. And if I can play a part of that, all of this is teamwork, you know, with people Stephen who I trust. But if I can play a small part in that, then I'd be very glad indeed. It would make my life. So that's what I'm working towards.
Well, I have to admit, and I think I've told Stephen this, that, you know, Bigfoot is not the first thing I think of in terms of exploring and in my life. And I've mentioned our upcoming series that he's going to do. And I'll have to tell you, I either get, oh, that'll be fun, or you'll get an audience. I get one of those two replies.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be interest out there. And honestly, I think we all want to know.
Yeah.
We all want an answer. You know, it better go one way or the other, or we're going to be disappointed. But we want an answer.
Absolutely. And that's what we're working towards.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of cultural fascination. I've been very encouraged by the people I've met in Washington who've been extremely helpful and supportive.
Yeah.
It's easy to be derisory about this sort of subject. I know that.
Yeah.
But I would hope that the credible approach that we're adopting would lead people to think, well, actually, this is a very positive thing that they're doing.
Yeah. I'm going to ask the last question, and I know the answer. Are you having fun?
I have enormous fun. I've seen so many things all over the world. I've been eminently blessed.
Yeah.
But I will say that I've had a fantastic thing in Washington here. People have been extraordinarily helpful and supportive. They've fallen over themselves to help me, and I feel truly blessed to have been invited here.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming on here. It's a little bit of a preview of kind of where we're going to go with Stephen, and I'm sure you'll be on that every so often as well.
I hope so.
Yeah. We'll get him to say yes so that we
hold him to it.
We can pick it up on the microphone, right? And thank you.
My
thank
pleasure.
you for the stories, and we look forward to seeing more.
And thank you so much for having me on your show. I've ever enjoyed it.
You're most welcome. And thanks for watching The Pulse of Spokane. Have a great day, everybody, and watch the series. It's coming up in the end of September.